Hey guys, it's Miss Higgins here. This is my favorite book in the whole entire world, and it's called Patrol by Walter Dean Myers, and it's set during the Vietnam War. Like all historical fiction, the characters and plot aren't real, but the setting is based on a real time period in history. Walter Dean Myers actually fought in the Vietnam War, and his little brother was killed in the Vietnam War, so these experiences heavily influenced his perspective. Vietnam is a country in Asia, and the Vietnam War was from 1955 to 1975 between North and South Vietnam. While the Holocaust was a war about racism, the Vietnam and the bigger Cold War were wars about politics. It was democracy, where people vote for their leaders, versus communism, where one person rules as a dictator. Many countries, including the US, were involved. Now, the country's leaders were arguing about politics, but most everyday people did not want to go to war, and there were many protests against the war, as you can see here. We won't fight another rich man's war. My son was killed in Vietnam. What for? A walk with us for peace in Vietnam. People would hide in the vegetation of the jungle and underground trenches, so the US began dropping napalm bombs and Agent Orange. Most of the people who died weren't soldiers, but civilians who were not involved in the fight. So this is Patrol by Walter Dean Myers. The land of my enemy has wide valleys, mountains that stretch along the far horizon, rushing brown rivers and thick green forests. My squad of 9 men are in the forest. Above me, birds twitter nervously in the treetops. Insects and small animals scurry through the underbrush, trying to avoid the crush of my combat boots. The squad leader raises his hand. We stop. The sound of my breath is soft in the morning air. Somewhere in the forest, hidden in the shadows, is the enemy. He knows I have come to kill him. He waits for me. Now, throughout this book, guys, the author describes nature, and I want you to think, how does the nature compare or contrast to what's happening around it? The squad leader signals, and the patrol moves out again. The brush thickens as we head toward our target. The fog, which rolls slowly at the edge of the forest, is beginning to clear. I lift my rifle and begin to rub the palm of my hand slowly along its wooden stock. The weather is hot, but the sweat that runs down my back feels cold. Shots! A firefight! I dive to the ground. My heart beats faster. I lift my rifle and fire into the green forest. Bullets sing and whine over my head. I empty my clip, sending more bullets into the trees, the bushes. In reply, the bark flies from a tree near my head. I think I see the enemy. I reload and shoot again. It's only a shadow, but I do not stop shooting. In war, shadows are enemies too. Suddenly, there is silence. We are afraid to move. We are more afraid not to move. So the author's giving us all these details about the soldier, the cold sweat, he's diving to the ground, his heart is beating faster. So he's trying to show us a different side of being a soldier. I hear the sounds of the birds again. I wonder if they speak of us from the high branches. I wonder if what they see makes them sad. I am so afraid. I want the enemy to be more afraid. I want him to tremble more than I tremble. The radio crackles in my hand as I call for bombs. So again, the author is talking about nature here, even in the pictures. Why does he keep mentioning this? Crouched against a tree older than my grandfather, I imagine the enemy crouching against a tree older than his grandfather. We wait, we wait. Images of those I love come to mind. Still, we wait. Then we are startled by the sound of planes. We look up at them and see their shadows spreading over the valley's edge toward us. They pass us and do their work. The bombs explode, rumbling like thunder at a distance that is never distant enough. My body shakes. I tell myself that I will not die on this bright day. Against the horizon, columns of blue-gray smoke rise. 2 clicks away, there are flashes of gunfire. 2 clicks is the distance of my enemy. My chest tightens. I wipe my sweaty palms. I bite back my tears. We move again. We are always moving. My legs ache. My shoulders sag. My 1,000 eyes look for death in the waving bamboo fields. A village. It is our target. We circle it. We swing around, sweeping our gun sights along the windows in the huts. We rush in behind the hollow booming of grenades. "Secure the village," a sergeant calls. He points toward the enemy. The enemy. A brown woman with rivers of age etched deeply into her face. An old man, his eyes heavy with memory, and babies? Babies? Little enemies crying on the mud roads. Little enemies with tears running down dusty cheeks. But I know there are other enemies. They are strong and young. I am strong and young. So guys, do these look like enemies to you? What point do you think the author is trying to make by including this scene? The others, they are the real enemy. They have dogs that bark at danger, and wooden bowls that hold a day's rice, and grandmothers who stand sullen at their huts. This is my enemy. Sounds like he's trying to convince himself here. The pickup zone is just beyond a rice paddy. In the paddy, a farmer squats, waiting for the squad to pass. His stick-thin legs disappear into the shallow water, and it looks as if it is he who grows there. He is the harvest, we must understand. A shot! I reach for the ground and scramble for cover. The elephant grass cuts my arms as I slide toward a low wall. Then there is an opening in the tall grass, and I look through. There is the enemy! He's looking at me! We are surprised to see each other. Shocked. How young he is. We stare across the distance. I know he wants me to lift my rifle to be the enemy. I want him to lift his rifle. I want him to turn away. In a heartbeat, we have learned too much about each other. So the author didn't have to make these two characters so similar, but he chose to give them the same feelings, the same motivations, the same struggles. They're even the same age. Why do you think the author would do that? The putt-putt of the chopper interrupts the moment. The enemy turns away and is swallowed by the lush grass that is everywhere in this land. I lift my rifle. I aim at the distant shadow. I am the enemy. I lower the rifle. My fingers clutch the webbing of the chopper. It strains with the weight of the squad. Below us, the land becomes a peaceful patchwork of greens and blues and browns. This land has wide valleys, mountains that stretch along the far horizon, rushing brown rivers and thick green forests, and war. So guys, this reminds me of Tiger Rising and Rose Blanche, because in those stories, the setting mirrors what's going on in the story. So when Rob is upset and feeling depressed, the clouds are gray and it's raining. In this book, it's the exact opposite. The nature is peaceful and beautiful, and the birds keep chirping, while all around them, the humans are having these wars, and you can see they're dropping bombs, people are dying. And so in this book, the setting is the exact opposite, and the author's trying to provide a contrast with what's going on here. We land. I'm glad that I am alive. As the heat of day passes to the heat of night, I write a letter to someone I love. I wonder if my enemy is writing a letter. I am so tired. I am so very tired of this war.